Hello and welcome to another episode on Unbox Tech Bytes. Today we're going to be carrying out an upgrade on our Ford C-Max, and we're going to be upgrading our Ford Syn3 3.0 system from version 2.2 up to 3.4. So before we get started, we're going to need a couple of bits of information from our already installed system. So we're going to have to go to Settings, General, and then we're going to scroll down until we get to About Sync. We need to note down our version and our build number because we'll be needing to input that into the Syn3 Updater software. We then need to exit out of that to our audio page, press down on our fast forward and eject button to enter the diagnostic settings. Once that loads, we'll click End Test because we don't need to hear the speaker setting diagnostics, and we need to go into our APIM diagnostics, part numbers, and then you need to take down the assembly part number, the one ending AAE on my system. Over to your search engine and search for Syn3 Updater by CyanLabs. Open that up and we can see some of the possibility of having navigation on the small screen, a snappier and responsive user interface, a nicer looking stock blue theme, newest map data, and you can get also radio logos, car mode, and a much better looking interface. Over to the downloader on the left hand side and we download the app. Now you might get adverts where I've got the ad block detected, but you'll find the download button in between those, and then we can open up the software for installation. Nice straightforward, click next. Next again if you're happy for that to be installed in a location, finish, and then it'll open up the Syn3 Updater. So first thing we need to do is we need to go over to settings, and then we get our disclaimer notice. Now it is worth just reading this because it is not covered by Ford. This is a third-party software and you just need to click I understand and accept the rules. So over to the settings, and that model number that we had from our parts, we just need to enter that in and check. Now anything before my 20, so anything that's not my 20, so that's anything up to the year 2020, you can use this software to install. So we're going to pop in our version number and our build number separated by dots in between, select our region and whether you want maps installed or not. This particular C-Max doesn't have navigation, so we're going to skip that for now. And then we just need to select our USB stick that we want that to go onto, our region, the version, select the newest along with the map version on this one, non-nav APIM. Then we just need to click start and it will download our files. Now we just need to read through this. As I was mentioning, anything that is in 2020 or newer, you will not be able to use this software for updating your Ford. As mine is before that, it's a 2017 model. I'll click no, and then we want to format the drive. It'll make sure you want to format the drive, and then it will download and then install the files required to the USB. Now later on in the video, I've done this update already on my Ford Galaxy, and that was a 2017 model as well, so I'll go to that at the end to run through the full, because that has the navigation and the maps on there. So get your USB stick, stick it in your car once that's done, and then you'll see the updating system software starting at the top. Now whatever you do, it'll tell you to remove the USB stick. Do not do this. We'll see this message come up in just a second. Yep, leave the USB in there and then it will restart itself and go into the installation. This does just take a moment for it to load up the files required, and it will come up with one of the Ford logos, and then you'll get three back screens that it kind of just rotates through while it's carrying out the installation. First off, we'll be repartitioning your eMMC, so allow for it, and then we will move extracting the app package as on here. It'll then update the apps package. It'll do the same for the DAB radio and Grace Notes, and it should be, for this without the navigation, this took in total around 9 minutes to do the full installation. As you can see, the timer there is whizzing past as I've sped this up. Then you'll be met with a green screen, and now you can remove your USB. Remove the USB and it should instantly go into a restart. Now you might notice that you get a couple of graphics that look a bit worrying that will come up on the screen any moment now. Don't worry about that, it will restart itself again, and then we will be loaded up into the new software 3.4. We'll just give that a second to load up. There you can see our Ford logo on there, looking all good. Now first time you load this up it might be a little bit laggy, but that's absolutely fine because there's something that we'll need to do as soon as we're in the system. So first up, it's going to offer us if we want to have automatic updates and diagnostics sent. We don't, because we forced this update, we have no need to do this. So confirm that once we've cancelled those options out. And close that window, and then we'll go over to our settings page, to general, and then we're going to scroll to the bottom for master reset. Now this will clear out all the lag and your system will restart, and then we should be good to go. So it does take about 30 seconds to a minute depending on your car for the resetting back to factory defaults, and then it will reboot itself into the system. Let me see again, we have our lovely stock screen load up for our splash screen. And then here we are with our new interface. As you can see, it's a lot cleaner and a lot nicer. Again, because we did the master reset, we'll just have to disable the updates and diagnostic data being sent. And this is what it looks like on the Ford C-Max. Now, in a moment, what we'll do is we'll jump over to my Ford Galaxy, where I've got the maps and everything installed so we can run through everything. But here you can see we've got version 3.4 and build 23188 installed, which is up from the version 2.2. So now I have jumped into my Ford Galaxy, which is the 2017 Titanium X edition, and instantly you can see here is I've changed my splash screen. Now I did this using ForScan and an OBD2 connector, and there's a link just up in the right hand corner where there is a video where I'll show you how to do this. Now starting off, we are met with our standard home screen. Like before, the layout is pretty similar, but it's had a complete design overhaul. Now here we've got our home button, which we're currently on, our passenger temperature, time, outside temperature, Wi-Fi connection, our mobile reception, along with our driver's side temperature. We've got our maps, we've got our music information, our phone information, and also using the ForScan, I added a couple of heated seat options to the dash as well. Now we'll jump straight into our audio page, and here you'll see it's got a pretty similar layout as to before, just a couple of little differences, and obviously the design element has completely changed. Now the one thing I do really like about this system is we have our thumbnail like before, but behind it just this little design element of where it's blown it up and blurred it out slightly just adds a bit more depth to the screen. Now everything is completely lag free. As you can see, I'm pressing play, I'm pressing pause, fast forward, back, all of that just works absolutely seamlessly. Now we'll jump into our sources. Now like before, we've got our 3 radio stations, AM, FM and DAB, and then we've got our CD player, our mobile phone connection and our USB connection. So I'll just jump onto the FM page for the moment, and like before you can see that we've now got our radio logos in there. Nice other design element. And just below that we used to have a presets button. They've got rid of that, and now we've got 3 preset banks of up to 6 presets on each of the 3 banks. So our first one here is Radio Jackie, we've got Radio 1, Radio X, Heart, Smooth, Classic. We could scroll across, we get our next bank, and then scroll across again and we've got the next. Now each time you change before, say if I was listening to Kiss on bank 3 and I go back to bank 2, when I go back to bank 3 it will still be the last station that you're listening to on that bank playing. Other items to notice, we've got our traffic announcements, and if you wanted to add more stations or select a different station outside of your presets, then you've got this list here that you can choose from as well. That pretty much covers the audio page for now, and then we'll move over to climate. Now climate very similar to before, but yet again a design overhaul, and a couple of the buttons have moved. So we've got our dual temperature here if the passenger wants a different temperature to the driver. I won't go into the menu just yet, I'll come back to that. We've got our on off button, obviously, auto settings, passenger temperature, driver temperature, fan speed, and then we've got our windscreen defrost, whether we want the air to come out of the top vents or whether we want them to come down at our feet, air conditioning, the rear defroster, and also the recirculation option. Now if we jump into menu, we've then got a few other ones that weren't listed on there. We've got our max windscreen defroster, our electric windscreen defroster, max AC, and along with our heated seat button options as well. We'll then move over to our phone, and here pretty much similar to what we've had before, but yet again just a bit of a design upgrade on there, and it is a lot swifter. I can't say to you enough how little lag there is. If we go into here, see, I can just type the numbers and they show up. Before, when I was on my 3.0 version, this didn't quite give us the same, and you sometimes get a quarter to a half second lag, which is actually quite noticeable. But aside from that, we've got our recent calls, contacts, the phone that we're connected to. If you want to change the phone, do not disturb, the phone keypad, text messages, and phone assistant. So say if I was going into text messages, I can then see all of my various text messages in there. So we'll come back out of there, and we will then go into our navigation. Now this, again, layout is very similar to what was in there previously, so don't expect too much difference on there. But it is updated, it does have the newer road names in there, and it has better information, I find, that was on the previous. Now most of the time I use my Android Auto for connection, or you obviously can use Apple CarPlay if you've got that available on your system. But we'll go into the controls here in the menu. So screen view, you can either have the full map or you can have motorway exit info. Now I do like the motorway exit info on here, it is really quite detailed. It's a lot clearer than Waze or Google Maps when it's giving you those details, and it actually shows you exactly where you're going to go, and it also gives you the boards of the locations of where you're going to, just as if it was on the motorway. We can then do traffic lists, there's no point in doing that now since we're not moving, and navigation settings. Now you can also find this under the general settings tab, which is your last option on the bottom here, but we'll just run through a couple of things of what's in here. Map preferences, CD model in 3D, we can have our breadcrumbs, point of interest icons, and instant icons. Now I don't like my screen being too full of things, so I haven't got my point of interest icons located, nor the breadcrumbs, because I know where I've come from, but those options are available to you should you want. And we can then choose route preferences, which will give you whether you want to go the fastest route, the shortest route, or the most economical route. You can then select whether you want to always use the fastest route, which is what I do, and find parking automatically. Now when you're coming close to it, it'll show you some parking icons on the navigation screen as you approach the destination. Eco time penalty, I don't bother with that at all. Dynamic route guidance is always handy, and then you've got the other options to avoid motorways, toll roads, ferries, car trains, and tunnels. Back out of that, navigation preferences, we can then choose our guidance prompts, whether we want voice and chimes, voice only, or chimes only. And the same for hazard spot warning. I've currently got this set to off, but visual and chimes would probably be the best option for this. As it says, the use of hazard spot warning is the responsibility of the driver. Hazard spot warnings are only available in certain countries, and see your owner's manual for more information. So we'll back out of that, and that pretty much concludes the navigation settings. We've then got where I am, which will give you the address of where you're currently located, search function, previous destinations, favourites, point of interest, and also your home and work location buttons. Now if we go back to the main screen, say if we wanted to search, you've also got easy access to recents, home and work, favourites, and also your points of interest up there. Now it is nice and lag free, so you can just start typing and instantly it will come up there. Obviously it's probably not going to give me any locations with those letters involved. So we'll just back out of that, and then we'll go to our apps icon. Now you can use this to find apps on your phone that are compatible with this system. I don't believe I actually have any, so we'll just move on. Yeah, there we go, no apps found. You can also enable that via USB as well. So we'll jump into our settings menu, and here we've got pretty much the same layout that what I had before and options available to us. We'll click on sound, and we've got our treble, mid-range and bass icons at the top. You've then got your balance and fade options, so you can fade whether you want it to be louder at the front or louder at the back, or in the middle obviously means it's equal all the way through, and your balance of left to right for stereo. Adaptive volume, I've got this set to high, so when you're driving faster and the engine's creating more noise, it will just bump up the sound by a couple of notches. And then you can choose whether to have surround or stereo. Since I've got the 12 speaker package from Sony in here, I do prefer the surround settings. Back out of that, and then we've got our clock. Now we can choose whether to have it on 12-hour mode or 24-hour mode, automatic time zone update, and if you want to reset the clock to GPS time. Back out to that, we can then choose what Bluetooth, whether we want it on or off, choose our devices, and then view the other devices if you want to switch over. Phone settings, yeah, again we can view devices.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
If you wanted to add a new one, or I've got my phone here, so I'd select that because it's the main connection on this one, it will always automatically connect. We can then manage our contacts. We can set a separate ringtone for the car, text messaging options, whether you want to mute audio in hands-free, roaming warning, and this isn't normally added on, the low battery notification. That's normally disabled, but obviously you can just enable it by flicking it on or off. We then got our radio settings, so you can choose the auto store refresh, you can have traffic announcements, news announcements, station order list, whether you want radio text, station logo, regional stations and alternate frequencies. And we come back, emergency assistance. Now if you have a crash, or what it determines to be a crash, you can get the car to automatically call and set emergency contact. You get 2 contacts that you can select from there, and they're taking the details from your phone. Back out to that, and then we've got our navigation settings like we did see previously under the navigation page, and you've got them accessible also on the general settings page. You've got mobile apps. Likewise, we covered that under the app setting, but you can enable it to be via USB if you wanted to. And then we'll scroll over to the second page. We've got our general settings. Now here you can change your language, the temperature unit, measurement unit, so miles or kilometers, touchscreen beep. This is enabled as default. Always recommend disabling that because it's just an annoying tone. It's just something that we don't need to have on there, so I disable that. Automatic system updates and analytics and diagnostics I have disabled because I forced this update on my car. There will be no further updates that I'll legally be able to make through the Ford website, so there's no point in sending them the information. You've then got the information about your sync software on there, your software licenses and a master reset. Back out again, we've got our automatic updates which I've got disabled. We've got our Wi-Fi connection. If your car has a modem enabled, then obviously I've got that connected to my home network. Vehicle settings. This all depends on what hardware you've got, but for here it's just my camera settings, and I can choose whether or not to delay the rear view camera. Display. Now this is where it's had a nice change. We can now choose our background. So if we just choose the day option up here, so we've got pretty much a clean white background, one with a slight bluey hue which was kind of on the previous one. We've then got this diamond format on here, and then a dotted display there. Now I don't really like any of those myself as a design interface, so I always go for the night option because it's plenty bright enough in day and night. You can either have the standard blue, the grey, the diamond golf ball kind of pattern, and then again the dotted display. I really like this diamond version, so I keep it on that. You can then choose the brightness of the display. At the moment I've got it set at 50%, which seems to be perfectly bright enough day or night. And then you can choose whether to have it on auto, so it'll switch depending on the lighting outside to day or night, but I just have mine selected for night because I prefer that. We then got voice controller options. So you've got your advanced mode, which means that it won't give you as many voice prompts and allows you to start speaking sooner. We've got our call confirmation, so it'll tell you the contact name before you make the call. And then you've got the voice command list, which will show up the options on the screen when you press your hands-free button on your steering wheel. Valet mode, if you weren't already aware, was you input a 4-digit PIN on there. That'll then lock the screen from being able to be touched by anyone else until the same PIN is then re-entered again. Ambient light, this is for your footwells and door handles. I'll give you a quick shot of that now that I've taken on my phone. And you can change the brightness and you can change the colour as you see fit. I quite like the purple, it gives a nice balance of light and tone for the car that I'm currently driving. Now that covers all of the options and all of the functions within our Syn3 display here, so I hope that's been informative and useful to you. If you do have any questions, please do post them down in the comment section below, but for now that is the run through of our Sync 3.4 update. Now if you haven't already, please take a moment to like and subscribe the video below, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my future videos.